I love DayZ, but I would be kidding myself if I said that there weren't some things that the game could make a bit more immersive and challenging on the survival side of the gameplay. So, let's jump right into today's video. Here are the 5 survival changes I would make to enhance the DayZ survival experience. 1. More hostile animal AI. I think one of the things lacking the most in DayZ is the threat of being attacked by wildlife in the game. In an apocalyptic setting, you would think animals would be a bit more abundant and some a bit more hostile in the presence of a lone human being. Yes, there's wolves and there's bears, but imagine how much a few more hostile AI would impact the game. Less people would be willing to sprint back to the gear straight through the forest with more added animal threat elements getting in the way. More aggressive animals could deter players from hiding out in the woods all the time and avoiding main roadways. It could create more potential player encounters or more of an immersive wild nature survival experience for everyone. I could imagine some local snakes slithering around the woods of a low-tier town, snapping turtles biting at your ankles when you cross through a stream, or maybe some predatory bird swooping down trying to steal your freshly caught fish. Or, better yet, I think the devs could easily make boar and bulls into more aggressive, when provoked, animals. These two animals are already in the game and would take less work to develop. Or at least you'd think so. Either way, I think DayZ's survival elements would be drastically enhanced with some more aggressive animal AI to switch things up out in the wildlands of Trinaris. 2. Better tracking features for animal and player hunting. Something that would drastically change the game in terms of both player and wildlife hunting would be some better tracking features. As it stands now, animals can be found by following audio cues, and players can be tracked based on dropped loot, dead zombies, and so on. But what if there was a little bit more in the game to enhance this hunting? Imagine that you could find deer tracks by a stream in the woods and use that to find out where they went. Or what if you could follow blood spots on the ground to find out where a player you saw get mobbed by zombies had scurried off to? These types of features would drastically improve the quality of immersion with each hunt and make survival feel so much more real. Footprints in the mud or the snow, blood drops where players or animals have been bleeding, shell cases where another player had shot a gun would all be really cool, realistic examples of things that could be added to the current array of tracking techniques used in the game by survivors. To balance things out, these could be dynamic features that become undetectable after a certain amount of time since they were left for others to find. Other factors like the rain, wind, etc. could also affect the persistence timing on them too. Comment below what other tracking features you think should be added to make hunting more immersive. 3. More dynamic weather. Speaking of the weather system, I think some more dynamic weather patterns would be really cool to see in DayZ. In Zero's hardcore Trinaris server, they have a wide variety of weather environments to make gameplay less linear and more unpredictable. Heavy rainstorms, dense fog, really dark nights, lightning storms, and of course, the beautiful sunny days. Rather than a basic day-night cycle with some scattered rainstorms, it would really be awesome to see some more variety in the game to make things more unpredictable, challenging, and immersive. The devs could even add some new dynamic weather events like ice and snowstorms, heat waves, windstorms, and so on, to change up gameplay and make us have to be prepared for many different situations in the game. Maybe even adding weather based on the current time of year / location of the server could be really interesting. 4. Primitive craftable tools and weapons. If anything else, I think DayZ really lacks the most in the primitive and improvised gear category. Although I feel that there are no other survival games truly like DayZ, other games do usually allow players to craft some basic tools and weapons to help them in the beginning based on basic items found around them in the spawn. DayZ doesn't really have this too much. As it stands at the time of this video, the big headliners in terms of items players can make are the improvised bag, fishing rod, stone knife, and the hand drill kit. Although very useful, I think a few more additional items would be beneficial, especially for new players that are trying to learn the game. Items like a bow and arrow, a craftable hatchet from stick, bones, and a rope, and the return of the leather clothing items would be a great addition to the game and encourage a lot more hunting and utilization of more early game items that can be abundant in the spawn areas. I also think it would be cool to see the devs take note of items that may be left untouched amongst their player base on official servers, and find ways to implement them into some crafting recipes to help balance out the loot ecosystem and have more for survivors, even the most experienced ones, to learn and experiment with. Although, These crafted items would likely need to be balanced to not make starting off too easy. DayZ is supposed to be hardcore after all. 5. Zombie features. Lastly, I think the devs should continue changing and tweaking zombies, to make them one of the game's biggest threat to a player's survival. I love that they tiered the zombies based on their spawn, like civilian, police, military, etc., and that there are more types of infected, like the screamers, the runners, crawlers, but I think there are a few more touches that the devs could work on to make them feel even more dangerous. Actually, my 2 biggest wants for Zeds are already part of the modding community on PC. Many players, including myself, have avoided fighting zombies by simply trapping them into buildings. But what if they could break through doors and come back at you? This would almost eliminate the trapping zombies meta, and if you did still decide to trap them inside buildings, it would only be to buy you time so you can loot a body or bandage yourself quickly, but it's not a scot-free escape from the living dead. I also think that players should have to avoid taking hits from zombies, as it would slow down the people who sprint from town to town looting as fast as they possibly can, and change an entire server's pace of play. It would also encourage other methods of handling zombies, like stealth kills, sneaking, silently shooting them out, and so on. One way the devs can make this a reality is by making the zombie hits themselves more of a danger, by adding the chance of you gaining a wound infection. This would make more players have to find ways to keep a low profile, and add more of a reason to carry disinfectant at all times. The devs could also accomplish this by altering zombie hit damage, chance of taking on a bleed, or adding more dynamic zombie behavior types, or by implementing something like a big horde in select areas, or in a dynamic spawn, like a heli crash or gas bombing. All of these can make zombies even more difficult and force players to change their entire approach to survival in general. In the end, I think these 5 survival element changes to DayZ are very reasonable, and some actually already exist in modding, and they would be extremely beneficial towards the hardcore survival experience the devs seem to be looking to achieve. If you want to see these changes, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you have any tweaks to what I've suggested, or you have your own ideas, make sure to leave them in the comments below. I'd love to see what you think. Also, consider subscribing if you enjoyed and want to see more DayZ live streams and video content. Well, that's it for now, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.